Every single day after the age of 50, your gut lining loses protective mucus at a rate that would terrify most gastroenterologists. And here is the part that should genuinely alarm you. By the time you feel the bloating, the brain fog, the joint stiffness, the fatigue that coffee cannot fix, the damage is not beginning. It is already years deep. The bad bacteria have built a fortress inside your intestines, and they are running the show. Now your doctor will hand you a probiotic and tell you to eat more yogurt. Maybe they will say increase your fiber. And look, that is not bad advice on the surface. But it is the equivalent of throwing a glass of water on a house fire. Because nobody is telling you the real reason those billions of so-called good bacteria in your expensive supplement are failing. They are not failing because they are weak. They are failing because the bad bacteria have created something called a biofilm. Think of it as an invisible, slimy shield that pathogenic bacteria build around themselves inside your gut wall. This biofilm is like a bulletproof bunker. Probiotics land on top of it, and they slide right off. They never even make contact with the enemy. You swallow 60 billion CFUs and feel absolutely nothing because every single one of those bacteria is bouncing off a wall they cannot penetrate. Meanwhile, the colonies of Clostridium, Klebsiella, and Candida underneath that shield keep multiplying, keep producing lipopolysaccharides, keep triggering what researchers call metabolic endotoxemia, which is a fancy way of saying your bloodstream is slowly being poisoned by bacterial waste products leaking through a gut lining that gets thinner every single year you age. And this is the biological key that changes everything. There is a process called quorum sensing. Bacteria are not just mindless organisms floating around. They communicate. They send chemical signals to each other. When enough bad bacteria gather in one location, they reach a quorum, like a vote, and they collectively decide to activate virulence factors. They decide together to produce more toxins, to thicken the biofilm, to suppress your immune response locally so your own body stops fighting them. Your gut does not just have an infection. It has an organized, communicating, self-protecting colony that has hijacked your intestinal real estate. And the older you get, the worse this becomes because your production of secretory IgA, your gut's frontline immune antibody, drops significantly with age. So the guards are leaving the building, while the invaders are getting smarter. This is why the standard approach fails. This is why you have tried the kombucha, the kefir, the refrigerated probiotic that cost you $40 a bottle, and you still wake up with a swollen belly and a foggy head by 10 in the morning. So let me walk you through what actually works, ranked from barely moves the needle to the absolute king of gut bacterial warfare. First up, apple cider vinegar. I am going to give this a score of 2 out of 10. Now I know that upsets some people because the internet has turned apple cider vinegar into a miracle liquid. And yes, the acetic acid in it does create a mildly inhospitable environment for some bacteria. But here is the problem. Your stomach acid is already dramatically stronger than apple cider vinegar. If stomach acid alone could solve bacterial overgrowth, you would never have the problem in the first place. The issue is not in the stomach. It is in the small and large intestine, where the pH is different, where the biofilm lives, and where apple cider vinegar has been so diluted and neutralized by your digestive process that it arrives with almost no antimicrobial power left. It is not useless. It may help with stomach acid production in people who are hypochlorhydric. But as a weapon against entrenched pathogenic colonies in the lower gut, it is bringing a plastic spoon to a sword fight. Score 2 out of 10. Next, fermented foods broadly. Sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. I give these a 4 out of 10. Better than apple cider vinegar because they actually do deliver live organisms and beneficial organic acids deeper into the digestive tract. Kimchi in particular contains strains of lactobacillus that have shown genuine antimicrobial activity in laboratory settings. But here is the preparation secret nobody talks about, and this is where most people completely sabotage themselves. If your sauerkraut or kimchi was pasteurized, and most store-bought versions are, then every single beneficial bacterium in that jar is dead. You are eating flavored cabbage, nothing more. Even the raw, unpasteurized versions face the same biofilm problem I described earlier. They add reinforcements to the battlefield, but those reinforcements still cannot breach the fortress. So they help the overall environment, they contribute beneficial short-chain fatty acids, they are a good supporting player, but they are not the solution. Score 4 out of 10. Now we step up to oregano oil. This one gets a 6 out of 10, and it deserves genuine respect. Oregano oil contains two compounds, carvacrol and thymol, that have been studied extensively for their antimicrobial properties. And here is what makes oregano oil different from probiotics. It does not try to compete with bad bacteria for space. It directly attacks their cell membranes. Carvacrol in particular has been shown in published research to disrupt bacterial membrane integrity, essentially punching holes in the outer wall of pathogenic organisms. It also shows some ability to interfere with quorum sensing, that communication system I told you about. So it does not just kill some bacteria, it disrupts their ability to coordinate. That is meaningful. But oregano oil has a significant limitation. It is indiscriminate. It damages beneficial bacteria almost as aggressively as it damages the harmful ones. Long-term use can leave your gut like a scorched battlefield where nothing grows, good or bad. It is a powerful short-term intervention, maybe 5 to 10 days, but it is not a sustainable daily solution for someone over 50 who needs to rebuild, not just destroy. Score 6 out of 10. And now we arrive at the absolute king. The spice that does what probiotics cannot do, what fermented foods struggle to do, and what even oregano oil only partially accomplishes. And it costs you roughly 8 cents per serving. Turmeric, but not the way you have been using it, and that distinction is everything. Here is what nobody is telling you about turmeric and your gut. The active compound curcumin has over 4,000 peer-reviewed studies behind it. But the specific mechanism that makes it the undisputed king of gut bacterial warfare is its ability to disrupt and dissolve biofilm. A study published in the journal Frontiers in Microbiology demonstrated that curcumin degrades the extracellular polymeric substances that form the structural backbone of bacterial biofilm. In plain language, it melts the fortress. It strips away the protective shield that has been making every probiotic you have ever taken completely useless. Once that biofilm is compromised, your own immune system can finally see the bad bacteria. Your own secretory IgA can finally reach them. And any probiotic you take after that can finally make contact and actually compete for adhesion sites on your gut lining. But that is only the first mechanism. Curcumin simultaneously downregulates NF-κB, which is the master inflammatory switch inside your cells. When your gut is overrun with pathogenic bacteria, NF-κB is perpetually turned on, driving chronic low-grade inflammation that damages your intestinal tight junctions, the microscopic gates between your gut cells that are supposed to control what gets into your bloodstream. Curcumin turns that switch down. The inflammation drops. The tight junctions begin to recover. The leaking slows. The endotoxins stop flooding your blood. And that brain fog, that joint pain, that mysterious fatigue, they start to lift. Not in months, in days. There is even a third mechanism. Curcumin has been shown to selectively modulate gut microbiota composition, increasing populations of bifidobacteria and lactobacilli while reducing enterobacteriaceae and Clostridia. Unlike oregano oil, it does not scorch the earth. It selectively weakens the invaders while giving your beneficial bacteria an advantage. That is not a supplement. That is a biological weapon with precision targeting. Score 10 out of 10. But here is the preparation secret, and if you miss this, you will waste every single milligram of turmeric you consume. Curcumin on its own has almost zero bioavailability. Your liver treats it as a foreign substance and eliminates it before it can reach your gut in therapeutic concentrations. This is why millions of people sprinkle turmeric on their food, feel nothing, and conclude it does not work. The spice is not the problem. The preparation is the problem. You need 3 things to unlock turmeric's full power. First, black pepper. Piperine, the active compound in black pepper, inhibits glucuronidation in your liver, which is the process that deactivates curcumin. Just a small pinch of freshly ground black pepper increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo. 2,000%. Second, you need a fat source. Curcumin is fat-soluble. Without fat, it passes through your gut without being absorbed into the intestinal cells where it needs to work. A teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, or even ghee taken at the same time transforms curcumin from a passenger into an active agent. Third, and this is the part almost everyone gets wrong, you need to take it on a partially empty stomach, not completely full. If you take it right after a large meal, the curcumin gets trapped in the bolus of food and moves too slowly through the upper GI tract, where most of it gets neutralized before reaching the lower intestine, where the biofilm colonies live. The ideal window is about 30 minutes before a meal or about 2 hours after one, combined with just that small amount of fat and the black pepper. Here is the protocol. Take 1 teaspoon of high-quality organic turmeric powder, a generous pinch of freshly cracked black pepper, and 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. Mix them into a small paste. You can add this to a 1/4 cup of warm water and drink it, or simply take it straight off the spoon. Do this once in the morning and once in the evening. The morning dose begins dissolving biofilm on an overnight accumulation of bacterial waste. The evening dose works while you sleep, when your migrating motor complex, the cleansing wave that sweeps through your intestines, is most active. You are essentially giving your gut a demolition crew and a cleanup crew on alternating shifts. Now here is what I want you to do, and I am completely serious about this. Before you start this protocol, take a simple journal entry. Write down your current symptoms, the bloating on a scale of 1 to 10, the brain fog, the energy level by afternoon, the quality of your sleep, any joint stiffness in the morning. Take a photo of your midsection if you are comfortable doing so. Then follow this protocol for 30 days. No skipping. No substituting capsules unless they specifically contain piperine and a fat source, which most do not. At the end of 30 days, revisit that journal. Revisit that photo. Because what I have seen, and what the research supports, is that most people experience a noticeable reduction in bloating within the first 72 hours. By day 7, the brain fog begins to thin. By day 14, energy levels shift in a way that feels like someone turned the lights back on. And by day 30, you are looking at a gut environment that has been fundamentally restructured from the ground up. Imagine waking up tomorrow and that heavy, distended feeling in your abdomen is just softer. Not gone yet, but softer. And then the next day it is softer again. And by the end of the week you realize you have not thought about your stomach once. That is not a fantasy. That is what happens when you stop treating symptoms and start dissolving the actual structure that pathogenic bacteria use to survive. You are not broken. Your gut is not defective. You have simply been fighting an enemy with the wrong weapons for years, while the real solution has been sitting in your spice cabinet the entire time, costing you pennies, while the supplement industry charges you a fortune for capsules that bounce off a wall they were never designed to penetrate. Try this for 30 days. Write down what happens. And if you want to know the next compound that works synergistically with turmeric to rebuild the gut lining itself, not just clear the bad bacteria, but actually regenerate the mucosal barrier, make sure you are subscribed because that is exactly what is coming next. I will see you there.